morning, everyone. Hope you are doing well. Did you find out anything that we covered so far? Meantime, can you ask team to join quickly? Good morning. Where are others now? I can see less participant here. Are you facing any issue for development task that we discussed yesterday? Did you get chance to look into that part that we already covered so far, or not yet? Yet to be decided. Good morning. Now I think we are good here. So now we will cover today. Our agenda here is, most of the times developers know how to create a solution, but very few know why solution deployment fails in production environment. It maybe works in our lower environments, like in QA environment, in UAT environment, maybe sometimes in pre-prod environment also. It is working fine. But imagine this particular condition, like your customization work properly in dev. Testing is completed successfully without any major bug. But after deployment to prod, forms break, flow stop working, even sometimes plugin fails. Solution conflict appears here. So why this happen? So because most of the professional never learns solution layering part. What is the solution and layering? What is the difference between managed versus unmanaged strategies here? Real time ALM process they don't know mostly, and they even do not utilize patch even and clone approach. So, and even what is the enterprise deployment planning here? What to do here? What is the pre-deployment step? What is the post-deployment step? What to do after deployment? Even do we need to do any data migration post as part of here deployment process? And this is exactly where companies separate average CRM developer forms. So high paid CRM dynamics architects, what they will do, you will learn real enterprise development scenarios, how big company manage dev, test, and prod environments, common mistakes developers makes during deployment, what types of common issues we may face. Solution layering explained with practical example. What is solution layering? You will learn as part of this particular session. So what is the ALM strategy used in real client projects? What types of different interviews questions maybe comes into this particular topics? So you will learn all those things. So if you are preparing dynamic CRM interview question, so this particular session also very important session. If you are planning to become a solution architect, so it will help you because there are many things which covers here. So developers never more focus on those particular items here. And even moving from support to development side, if there are some person which they are planning to move from non-technical to as a technical development side, so this session is most important for them. And if you are having low that pay and you are looking for high paying CRM opportunity, then this topic is for you. So let's start with this particular topics and then we will do the practicals and we will get the practical knowledge. Do you have anything, any idea, any topics or any things that you want me to include? Just add your content here so that we can cover. Okay, so let me share my screen here. Okay, here what we covered so far. Hope you are able to see my screen. Let me open this. One person is asking for this trial environment instance. So you can create a trial environment instance and you can utilize that one. And maybe someone can share their personal 1 month trial instance so that we can help each other. Okay, so yesterday we covered so far. So this deployment component we already covered, like the release items list. I hope you understand till here, like how to move those content that items from dev to QA to UAT to pre-UAT and then prod. And what is the strategy, like how to validate those one, what types of different teams we have, we already covered. Any questions so far? Dev team, QA team, business team, what is the product owner, and how we can do the deployment, even the deployment team also. So in big organization, they are having their separate deployment team so that they need to take care any deployment, maybe for different department, or there are multiple deployment, because we cannot do deployment in a day times or any peak times or any times where our team or end customer they are working on the CRM side. So we should prefer the deployment time whenever we don't have any active customer base logged in, or if we don't have any such scenario or such time, like maybe we have a company where end user they are working on 24 into 7 mode. So we have to share one deployment window time to the end customer so that we can communicate properly and we can tell like, hey, for this particular window, like suppose 7 a.m. to, not only am, it we can include the time zone also, 7 a.m. ist to maybe 11 a.m. ist window. You may face slowness or slowness during this window, because even if we try to deploy something, it is not like our application is down completely and user cannot perform any action. They can do their own work, but they may feel slowness while we are deploying, we are importing the solution, system is performing the that publish all, then they may face some slowness. So it's better we may get different types of issues or emails, or maybe we can get different types of ultimation, and we can avoid such new bug created into the system due to that deployment. So our deployment team, they should verify or they should send a notification to all the users so that they can understand like this particular duration we may face slowness. Okay, so this deployment process, if we are deploying like we already covered in release list, out of 20 current sprint plan, we may have 12 items. Okay, today we will discuss about sprint planning here. What is the sprint here plan? Sprint based development. Do you have any idea like what is here sprint, why we are utilizing sprint, and what is the reason here why we have to maintain a sprint wise deployment or development? What is the benefit here sprint wise development, so that we can understand like how we are performing our development? Any idea? If you have any idea, we can discuss. See, we are not moving solution from UAT to production directly. We recommend either, see, we have two options. Is there any manual deployment? So in non-production environment, we always in non-production environment means we may have here dev environment, QA environment, UAT environment, pre-prod and prod environment. So generally what we are doing from dev to QA. So some of the company they are following those QA and UAT environment, we have to move as managed solution, right? Similarly, manage here also and here also. So if we are moving one solution from dev to QA, so we need some time to deploy and to get the output. Output means the testing feedback. Maybe we need some additional time to deploy those items into dev to QA. But what happen if we need to, it is not like suppose here we have a pro deployment release maybe after 10 days. So 10 days window, we need to complete regression testing, then the bug fixing, and then pre-prod deployment, and then we can deploy into the production one. But what happened till that time? Suppose during same time, is there any dev free, so that we should not work anything, we have to wait for this deployment only. So what is the best practice we have to follow, so that what happen if we have changed something which is not part of this production deployment items? Suppose I need to move a lead form. In lead form, I have added one customization which is part of this particular solution here, this production solution. Okay, so honey, what we will do we need to make this field as this particular, what we have to do here? Honey, can you hear me? So suppose if we need to move our lead form and someone already added one field into the form, so can we move that additional field which should not move into the production? Suppose I have a form, lead form, name field, I have increased 150 character to 200 character, and I have changed the label in the form, label changes. So I need to move one information form as part of this release. So what we have to do if someone already done additional customization which is not part of this particular release? So how to move those particular customization? So do we need to include this form or do we need to add this additional? Honey is here. Honey is part of our session or not? Deepak, can you hear me? I think Honey already joined here, but he is not able to hear. Deepak, so suppose, so are you able to hear me? Okay, let's discuss with him separately. Okay, so what happened here? Suppose if we have some items which we have to move as part of our solution deployment. So what happened, or do we need to wait till our deployment, or what we have to do here? So suppose we have to deploy one solution from our dev environment, and our dev team continuously development some of the item in our dev environment. So there might be some chance which our TQA or BA team they already tested in our that solution which we already exported and deployed. So what to do? How to segregate our components so that we should not move our unwanted component from dev to production environment? What is the process we have to follow here? So we have here a PR process. PR, what is the PR process here? how to use that PR process. Because here, if we are moving our solution from dev environment, suppose if we have taken one solution and we have added those components in our solution, we have exported it, we added into the QA environment and then tested and then verified and then get the sign off, then moved into UAT, also get sign off from QA team after doing the regression testing, and then BA also verified and given sign off, then our product owner also verified and given the sign off, then moved into pre-prod environment. So till that time it will take some time, maybe this particular time 2 days, maybe 3 days here, maybe here 1 day. So we took approximate here 6 days to do this particular activity. So what to do in that time? So is there any possibility our development team they should not do anything? So what is the best approach we have to add here? What to do here? So in that case, we have a PR process. PR process means whatever component related to one items, we have to create a pull request. What is the pull request also here? Okay, let's first discuss this particular content here in sprint wise. What is the sprint wise component, and then we will showcase you the repo, how repo looks like. Mainly you all aware the git, how to create a solution, how to add a component into the git, how to clone that component from the git, and then how to push those my changes into the git. So if you aware that particular part, that is fine. Otherwise we will do a small session and then I will show you how to do that particular activity. So sport is the sprint component here. How to utilize that sprint wise development part, this is very important part, like how to take a decision, like why prints comes into the picture. Any development and any deployment industry, if we are using scrum is a methodology, like it is a continuous development cycles. So continuous development cycles means we have two option means, if suppose if we have to deliver something, we can do development in such a manner so that we can complete everything and we can deliver. Suppose if I will give you one example. That is a very basic example that I'm trying to explain you. Just try to understand. Suppose if there is a one builder. Builder means we have a project where a builder, there is a construction project, builder need to develop 2000 house or plot, right? So builder need to develop those 2000 house and then they have to deliver everything. So we have two approach here, one approach and second approach. Let me know, I need your attention here, which is the best approach here. So one developer one means builder, developer one here and developer two. Developer one, they what they have done, so they initiated 2000 floor flat in one phase only. So what they have done, so they initiated all 2000 house and they have initiated earthwork, the earthwork, where they have to add the stone in the ground and they can initiate the development part. So all the 2000 house, build all the house in one go and deliver, right? But second developer, builder 2, they are giving, development and this particular one into the phase wise develop and give the handover. So what happened? So they have initiated 100 set, 100 set they have initiated, and then delivering those component. But here what happened in developer one, they have initiated 2000 house in a one go only, and they have initiated everything. So even for phase one, for these particular builders, at least for first phase, for phase one, at least they can see the 100 per family, they have delivered in a less span of time. So even the other person also, they are able to see, hey, 100 families, they receive their house, and even they are able to finish everything. And even the other person, they are also can see those 100 families, how they are construction, they are giving the construction, and what is the construction quality, what types of other amenity they are giving into this particular society. So other people also thinking like, hey, maybe we may get that types of construction quality, and maybe they may wait for their own time, because they know this, we will get our home in this particular phase. But here in this particular phase, even they are still in development phase, and even for 2000 house, they are building everything in one phase. That's why even uh, till the time they have delivered 100 house, they are not able to deliver any single person family house. They are still in very initial stage. So what happened? Even the construction cost, and even they may face different types of issues. All the family members, they are able to see, hey, even when you are going to deliver, so they are saying we will deliver everything in a one go. So many company, they are ignoring this first phase delivery part. They are saying we will keep delivering in a small piece, but we will deliver whatever we have in a phase wise. Now phase wise developments comes into the our software development also. That is called sprint. So sprint, what is the sprint? So for suppose if we have a project for, suppose we have a project for, suppose 2000 hours development task, 2000 hours development task, we have a project. So how we have to deliver that one? So we can prepare a plan where we can decide like, hey, how many developers we have here, so that we can deliver this particular task in a proper manner. Suppose we have 5 developers, dedicated developers, 2 BA, one TQA team members, and maybe we may have some other team members also. But we can take a decision like, suppose if we have 5 developers, so 5 developers, so we can take a decision, this particular sprint type items, we can divide this particular 2000 hours in a 4 or 5 different phase. Or maybe in suppose in 2000 hours we have to deliver, suppose, sales modules. So in sales modules we can define the here pipelines, or maybe the different stage. So suppose here lead management we have to deliver, suppose in uh, phase 1. But in lead management we may have 2 or 3 different phase, maybe sprint. So in lead management we may give sprint sprint 1 or maybe SPRI, sprint 2. Maybe we can define opportunity management here. Here we may have here port management. You know, like these are the different stage here we may have as part of our sales modules. Court management, here we may have here other also, maybe we may have different stage. So suppose here sprint 1 based on the sprint capacity. What is the sprint capacity comes into the picture? Like suppose if we have 5 developers, so 5 developers we have based on their availability in, suppose if we have decided sprint 1 we have decided 15 days, 15 days sprint. So first we need to define the sprint capacity. Sprint capacity is totally dependent on how many developers we have in our team for this particular sprint. So suppose if we have 5 developers, so 5 developers, for if we are talking about 5 developers, if there is no leave available in that particular sprint for any developers, so for 10 days, suppose 8 hour we are calculating the capacity, or 6 hour, 6 working hour if we are calculating the sprint capacity. So how many capacity, what is the capacity for the sprint member here? 5 team members we have, and 5 team members 10 days and 6 hour per day. So this is the sprint capacity I have for my 5 developers for 6 hour for 10 days. So this is my sprint capacity. So we have if 200, 2000 sprint. So how many sprint we required for this one? Maybe 300 here, maybe same in the next sprint, maybe 600 we already. So we can divide sprint 3, sprint 4, as sprint 5. So 300, and again next 300, maybe next 300 we can define. So here how much we achieve? 1500, maybe here 1800, and then we may have 200 capacity. We can define, suppose maybe 1%, 2%, 3%, maybe they can take leave. So we adjust our sprint development based on the sprint capacity. Now how to achieve, how to develop, so this is our strategy here, this is our plannings. So now plannings comes into the picture. So suppose in sprint 1 based on the developers availability, we have divided like in this particular sprint. So in this particular sprint we have to take lead management, and sprint 2 also we need to take the lead management, all the user story associated to the lead management. If we can segregate all those user story in such a manner so that this is also a complete, movable component, or we can say without completing sprint 2 also we cannot deploy those components into the production. So suppose if we can say this lead management we can complete in first 2 sprint, so we can create a release item with these 2 sprint item, because there are some user story which are dependent on the sprint 2 item. So we can plan so that we can move those components into the production with this lead management tool. So we can say our lead management is completed. Maybe we may have some other another enhancement, we may have another bug fixing related to those sprint 2, but at least we have defined, we have completed this particular phase 1. So like we have developed, we have delivered this first phase. Similarly, we have delivered the second phase. So then we can target for phase 2, which may contain two sprint 3 and sprint 4. Same manner we can proceed further based on the sprint capacity, like 5 developers for 10 days and 6 hours we are utilizing. Why 6 hours is utilizing? We have 8 hours. So we are considering 2 hours for buffer. Buffer means we may have some different calls. So what types of call we may have in sprint or this scrum master? So we may have different calls, maybe that status call, daily status call. What is the purpose of this status call? Maybe we may have that scrum planning or sprint planning, or maybe we may have grooming call. You can ignore my English spelling sometimes. Grooming call. And maybe we may have some, what is the difference between here in these different calls here? So status code, this could be a daily status code, or this may be alternative status code. So here we are discussing with our team members on daily basis, like, hey, where each and every team members we have here. So status code, like, I'm working on this particular item, I have a blocker on this particular item, and I need some clarification with this particular stakeholder. So once everyone here, so we can discuss this particular item and we can get clarification so that we can move further. Sprint planning, like for this particular sprint, when our one sprint is completing, so that we can plan next sprint item. So we are discussing here, like, hey, what is the capacity for this sprint? Based on the capacity, how much items we need to take, like based on the priority and based on the one user story. So also, like, how we are defining a sprint capacity, and how we can define, like, how much task we can get in a sprint items. That also a very complicated task also. Like, it is not like in sprint 1 we have sprint capacity at 300. So how to take those items so that we can complete those items in 300 hours? So these are not the hours actually. The If we are discussing on the scrum, so we have here a pointer base. We are not calculating any sprint as hourly basis. We are calculating, or we are defining the capacity based on the story point. Now story points comes into the picture. What is the story point here? So suppose there is a user story. What is user story actually? User story is a self-explanatory items where we have to deliver user requirement or business requirement, and we have added one independent component which we can deliver as part of our implementation. So story point, we are defining story point, like how we have to define the capacity of a sprint. So story point is nothing here. We are defining different numbers into the user story. Suppose I am giving one example. One user story or one task. User story. User story may be defined into different category here. So suppose one task is very simple, straightforward. So here, what you have to do? You need to create two fields and add into the forms and views. So how much time it will take? So we may have different types of here business requirement. Also, we may have here certain approval process. We have defined a complex approval process, and we have added different business logic also into the user story. So based on the criticality of the user story, we are defining here as a story pointer. So suppose this user story, I will tell you the combination of this here story point. So here story point and hours approximate. I'm not giving 100%. Story point maybe story point is mapping based on this number 1, 2, 3, then 5, then 8, and then 13. So it should comes into this particular manner. It is not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It will consider if it is a very simple, it will complete within 2 hours. So we can give one user story in this particular 2 or 3 hours, we can say in story point 1. So approximate 2 hours. It will include the testing also, deployment also, and other component also. So 2 means it will complete within half days, or we can say in not here 6 hour, or we can say 1 day. We can say here 6 hours. Here you can say 1.5 days. Here 2.5 days, working days. Here we can say here 1 week and 1 sprint. 13 pointer is 1 SPRI. So how we are defining this complexity? So suppose someone say one user story is here, it will take 1 point. This is 1 pointer user story. 1 pointer user story means it is around 2 hours task. If we are giving 2 pointer story here, so we can say this is approximate 6 hours task, right? If we are saying this is 3 pointer user story, so we should understand based on the user story complexity, this is 1.5 working days. Similarly 5, similarly 8, and then similarly 13 pointer. 13 pointer means complete 2 weeks we have to work in this particular 13 pointer. This is very complex items. So how we are deciding, is there any possibility we can break this user story into 2 parts, or we can assign to the two developers? We are giving this particular user story in such a manner. Our target here is to, we have to define, or we have to break our complex logic into 2 different tasks, so that if is there any possibility, we can align 2 different developers for some complex user story. So based on those particular tasks, we are identifying the capacity of the team members. So for one that developers, based on their capacity, so per day they are having 1.5 capacity. So 1 day one developer is having 1.5, and then if we are talking about multiply by 10 days, so they can take 15 pointer user story maximum for one sprint. So if one developer can take 15 pointers, so if we have 5 developers, so how much we can take the user story in a sprint? 75. So our target here is, if we have user story, so that decision, so that is the strategy we are doing for proper development, proper deployment, proper completion of that ALM process. So that 75 story point we need to define in a sprint planning. So it is not like they have given over estimation or less estimation they have given. So if suppose if they have given, hey, can you complete this user story as 100? We cannot, because we don't have that capacity. Otherwise we have overlapping of that particular items. We have to move those items into next space. Maybe we may have some ongoing issues also if we have to deliver something. So at least we have to give some time so that we can deliver as part of our this development process, deployment process, or this strategy planning. So I hope you understand the sprint planning and the grooming calls. What is the purpose of those grooming calls? So BA, our business team members, business analysts, they are taking sometimes they are discussing their requirement and they are adding their requirement in the ADO DevOps level, so that they can discuss with our technical team based on the criticality, like how much time we need to give the estimation in the grooming calls. Like this particular user story, whatever your need, it will complete in one story point, two story point, 3, 5, 8, or 13. So that in the grooming sprint planning call we can take the uh, story items in based on the priority also. So I hope you understand the priority, which particular item is more useful, or the preference based on the business need. So likewise we are defining the strategy for this sprint planning, sprint deployment. Why we need this one? Why we cannot say like we can complete everything and then we can deploy that one? So because that is not the best approach here. We already covered this particular one, because here we cannot go for this particular items we will deliver as part of phase wise development task for betterment. I hope you understand this particular strategy, the planning part, so that my screen is not visible. Can you see? Are you sharing your screen? I'm not able to see. You are also facing same issues. Let me share it again. Are you getting that issues? Are you able to see my screen? Now, just let me know if you are facing such issues. Okay. So I hope you understand this terminology, how we are planning in our, for betterment, like why, this particular items we are defining. So you were asking one question, I use, sir, how to move the, I think, how to calculate the story point, right? So story point calculation that I have showcased you. Suppose if you have some complex logic which you need to implement. So suppose if I have given you one requirement, like I need to create a new custom entity where I have attached five different fields. I have even given all the information, like this is the UI, and those five fields I have: two text field, one option set value, one lookup fields I have, So you need to create a form, you need to create two different views, and you need to perform this particular UI, and then you need to add this newly created entity in the left navigation bar, and you need to add this entity into this specific what we can say model driven app. So how much time it will take, just let me know for all those particular component. Either you can give that user story, because here five creating five field, different five field, how much time it will take. Designing that form, how much time it will take. Adding those field into the form level, that view level, how much time it will take. You can keep that story pointer as 2 pointer maximum. So based on the criticality, the requirement, how you are defining that particular items, based on your complexity. Like suppose if you have a requirement, like you need to create a plugins, you need to create a custom action, you need to call that custom action, and you need to call some external third party API, or you need to develop a API, also you need to host that API, or you need to create a console based application where you need to perform some data migration activity, or maybe you have some complex logic which you need to implement into your system. Then you have to give 8 pointer or 13 pointer. It totally based on your exposure, your experience, how you handle such scenario, and how much time it will take. I hope it's clear. So based on your experience and your exposure, you can take a decision related to this ALM process. Hope you understand this part. Let's complete this particular activity here. ALM process, the package concept, what is the solution, everything required for one feature bundles nearly, the package concept. Tables we may have logics, we may have apps inside one solution. Application lifecycle management, here we have development, then we are doing testing, we are doing development, and then we are doing maintenance, fixing, enhancing, upgrading existing apps. So this is the ALM lifecycle. It could be .NET based, it could be CRM, it could be any other technology, but this is the phase we have. Why the package concept? You understand this particular one. We already covered this particular part. Visually, box represents solution package. This concept visually graduate that everything is a bundle, no missing dependency, full export, move logic to the source control, standard import, seamless, setup in new environment, then develop, export it, import to test environment, then move to production. Common data, CDM. Here, what we have here, standardized CDM provides pre-built tables that follow the industry best practice, ensuring your data is standardized across account and contact, customer, and end-to-end retail case, support and tracking case activities. So presentation layer, business layer, resistance layer, component, and data access layer. We'll discuss here. So extend, don't rebuild. Microsoft, CDM stable inside managed solution, as well as SLA. That is not needed here. Solution type, managed versus unmanaged solutions. So unmanaged solutions here, fully editable and flexible for build and exporting the working copy of your apps. Managed solution, that is logged for safety, no direct edits. Protect system integrity when upgrade and patch allowed. ALM is critical. Clean deployment, faster rollbacks, collaboration, avoid data duplication, broken updates. So, what is the backup policy here? Rollback. We'll discuss maybe in upcoming sessions. ALM, like we already covered all those items. So maybe If you have anything, we can discuss further. Otherwise, we can wrap up our today's call. But I had messaged you on WhatsApp. I am waiting for your response. I will very helpful for me. Sure, sure. I will share the updates or my thoughts today once I have some time. So thank you very much. Keep learning, keep enhancing your skill set so that you can leverage your time here. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you so much.